Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition, and I'm delighted to welcome back to the show the former editor of the Sunday Express and friend of the programme, David Wooding. David, pleasure to have you on my show. Every time you're here, news is breaking somehow. I don't know how you do it, David. You're working your magic. What do you make of this?
For scandal.
Yes, no, we love a scandal, David. We love a scandal. It keeps the world turning. What do we make of this Tim Davie resigning? Of course, many people are pointing to Donald Trump going, do you think Donald Trump's had a hand in this? Do you think he's called up his friend, his friend Keir Starmer? We've got to we forget that these two are quite close, it seems. Do you think maybe Donald Trump's had a few words with the Prime Minister?
I think the big trigger for it, to be honest, Alex, is the fact that Samir Shah, the chairman of the BBC, is to give his response tomorrow to the Commons Select Committee, and he needs something up his sleeve to give to the MPs who will be baying for some kind of strong response. And that response has happened tonight, in my view, in losing two top figures. That's the way I see it, to be honest.
Yeah, and we talk about radical overhauls. Nigel Farage has come out. We've got Ed Davie coming out here. And interesting, because I keep going back to this Ed Davie quote. Of course, Ed Davie's leader of the Liberal Democrat Party in the United Kingdom, the third largest party by seat count now. So I think we should take the man a bit more seriously, even if he doesn't always take himself seriously. Sir Ed Davie said, the resignations of Tim Davie and Deborah Turnus must be an opportunity for the BBC to turn a new leaf, rebuild trust, and not give in to the likes of Nigel Farage, who want to destroy it. What do you make of those words, David?
Well, this is what's completely wrong with the BBC's response to this scandal, Alex, in that they defended it. Even respectable journalists like John Simpson and Nick Robinson on the Today programme saying, people are out to destroy the BBC. No, we're not. I mean, I have to say, declare an interest here. I'm a lover of the BBC. I think the BBC does some great public service broadcasting. And if only it would focus on that instead of other things, then perhaps it might be in a better position. But their only response to this scandal was to say people are out to get us. No, we're not. We just want the BBC to be fair. And this tampering with the video was known about by Tim Davie 6 months ago. And what did he do? Nothing. If he'd have acted and sacked the head of Panorama and a few other people who knew what they were doing when they did this, then we might not be in this situation. And also, the way we're hearing tonight, mistakes have been made. These are not mistakes, Alex. These are deliberate distortion of the news. And to say it's a mistake is just to brush it away. And to say also it's people out to get them. No, look, if people are out to get them, then why on earth are they doctoring the news and giving them a hammer with which to beat them? Now Donald Trump and all other enemies of the BBC, whenever they're criticised, can just say, well, it's the BBC, it's fake news, we know what their game is. So they played right into the hands of their enemies. They should be doing the job properly instead of making excuses about it.
Yeah. We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. but we still need money in our daily lives. And we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward. And that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
On the front page of the Telegraph today, David, Anita Singh's given her opinion on this, and I think it's quite interesting. She says the criticism in his mind, talking about the BBC, criticism toward the BBC, in his mind was unwarranted and politically motivated. He did not seem to grasp that we scrutinise the BBC because it's a public service broadcaster funded by the licence fee payer. Is this the problem? Because the licence fee, we cannot, I don't think you can separate the licence fee from the operations of the BBC. They have basically an unlimited bucket of money where millions of us are forced to pay for this service. That generates them all the money they need. And then therefore, even if they do something wrong and people want to stop watching and show their disdain, they can't really do it, can they?
No, that's why the BBC must be impartial. And it's important to stress this, Alex, and you're right to raise that point to your viewers and listeners, that if it was GB News or a copy of a newspaper like the Sunday Express, the Sun or the Times, then people have a choice. They don't have to buy it if they don't want to. If they pay for it, then they've got to say. If they don't want to buy it, don't pay any money. But with the BBC, you have no choice. TV stations like GB News and ITV are funded by advertising and other income. But the BBC, it's a compulsory tax. We all pay £174.50p a year to fund the BBC. So we expect them to be unbiased and neutral.
Certainly agree with you, David. Thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. Former editor of the Sunday Express and total legend, David Wooding. Thank you so much for coming on the show as ever, David. I'd like to bring in my fantastic panel again to talk about this story. And of course, we will get on to other headlines tonight as well, by the way. But I just want to carry on this just for a little while longer. The front page of the Telegraph again. I will go back to this Anita Singh opinion piece because I think it does actually speak to the problem, and it's the same.
This is
problem.
the central problem.
Yes, it is. It's this feeling, perhaps, and I think the British people might sense it, that the BBC thought it could constantly sort of ignore it and did feel like these attacks were political, but actually they forget that politics is based off of people's opinions on things, and that is why this has become a battleground at the BBC. It's not because we all just want to have a bash at the BBC, it's because they're doing things that need scrutinising and they don't like it.
Yeah, and I think it's just become a self-reinforcing bubble, and they just don't listen to people outside. And the fact of the matter is that members of my own family and friends, perfectly sensible, sane, intelligent people, just now regard the BBC as, just not something that resonates with them, that it's just a bit too biased. They just can't get a straightforward view of the world. I'm not saying that they don't ever watch the BBC, but they scrutinise the BBC in the way they never would have done when they trusted it 100%. They wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And maybe lots of BBC programming is still watched by Middle England, and it generates and creates lots of very interesting programming still, but BBC News in particular, deserves all the criticism it gets. There are people I know that are totally disengaged with politics. They don't care for politics. The closest they get to politics is, how often the council collects their recycling bin. Unlike us, we live and breathe politics. However, they even get a sense that what they're being told by the BBC isn't necessarily true. And I'm not saying that they've all tuned into GB News or anything else. They just instinctively know that they can see the world world around them, and it doesn't align with what they're seeing.
Bill, I think, you know, we were talking about Kemi Badenoch's comments earlier on. I think she has sort of hit the nail on the head there. She thought BBC Arabic must be brought under urgent control. The BBC's US and Middle East coverage needs a full overhaul. Basic matters of biology, the corporation can no longer have its output shaped by a cabal of ideological activists. I remember watching a bit of BBC News, and they put a trans man as a single mother on one of their segments talking about the struggle for single women. And I was just completely baffled when I was watching it. And I was like, I cannot believe this is real, do you know? Do you know what I mean? I said, Kemi Badenoch's got a point, hasn't she?
Well, I mean, particularly with her criticism of the BBC Arabic channel, where I think there are serious and searching questions the BBC needs to answer. But I don't agree that there's this massive loss of confidence in the BBC. The polling evidence just doesn't back that up. I mean, I quoted it earlier, 64% value the BBC as a public service broadcaster. You don't get to 64% if there's a massive loss of confidence.
Can I just say, just on that point, because I think it's really important, I do think people find value in the entertainment side of the BBC. I do think they find value in watching EastEnders, watching...
And the great occasions of state,
shows.
The coronation, the funerals.
But I think the news side of things is where they are being let down, because that's where they get political.
Yeah, but it's the news coverage, which by and large the polling evidence does back up, that the people have confidence in. However, in this crisis, and I think it is a crisis, there are serious and searching questions that the BBC needs to respond to. And I'm not in favour, and we debated it earlier, I'm not in favour of abolishing the licence fee because it gives the BBC independence, but I would be in favour of the BBC coming under the remit of Ofcom. It's a historical anachronism as to why the BBC is self-governing, and I think Ofcom having oversight over its independence and impartiality would be a good thing.
I just don't think the licence fee giving the BBC independence is a strong enough argument for funding, you know, a channel when actually originally it was designed to as a licence for the TV equipment.
Well,
you can't carry on hiking up the fee year after year.
And I can't see my little brothers who watch YouTube for a living wanting to pay a licence fee, quite frankly. So we'll see, won't we? Listen, I've got a great skit I want to show you. BBC Verify skit. It's really, I think it's quite funny. I think it's a great piece of work that me and my producer have done on this. Anyway, also coming up, Ben Leo is going to join us live from Washington, D.C. There's been an update, apparently, from the US, and the White House, of course, has thrown its support behind GB News. Wow, what a moment there.